All right. Mm-hmm. Hi, hello. How is everyone doing? I do this every time. I don't know how I'm stuck on the wrong YouTube. But hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome. All right, gonna get some music going. I'm gonna grab a drink real quick, y'all. Don't forget to drink your water. I'm gonna go grab mine. I'll be right back. All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back. Thanks for waiting. Oh my gosh, are y'all ready to talk about some creating consistency? This is something like, I'm going to be honest, I feel like I'm becoming an expert in, which is crazy because I 2-3 years ago could not stay consistent with anything. Like I would do well for maybe a week, maybe, and then boom, I would be back off of my habits. Anybody else that's yep, I can do it. I'm great for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then it's it slowly trickles off, or it just falls off altogether. Mine wasn't even slowly trickled off. I would be oh, I'm tired, I'm not in the mood today. And then that would happen the next day and the next day and the next day. And then I just would never get back on my habits and routines. Every time. So if you're yeah, that's me. I'm doing the things. These are all the things that I want to do, but I just can't seem to get the consistency. I can't gain the traction. And then I start to gain traction and then I fall off, right? If you are there, let me know, because that is exactly what we are going to teach you. We're going to show you how to create some consistency in a healthy way so you're not getting down on yourself. We're going to talk about setting up your cues. I swear, if somebody would have told me about cues and how to set them up and what they were earlier, my life would have been so different, y'all. I would already be so much further, and I'm not mad. I'm just glad that I learned it when I did. You know what I mean? All right. We're going to give it just a couple more minutes to let people hop on. Let us know where you're coming in from today. I'm in Washington, so it's 9 a.m. I'm in Washington State. Everybody's Washington, D.C.? And I'm nah. No, I'm on the other side of America. So let us know, where are you guys coming in from today? What time of day is it where you're at? I'm so grateful that you're choosing to hang out with me on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, when there's literally so many other things that you could be doing right now. Oh, 11. Yep, mountain time. I just left mountain time. I was just in Texas visiting my family. So I know a couple of you reached out last week to ask if you missed a live. You totally did not miss the live last week. There wasn't a live. But we've got this week, we're going over cues. Next week, by demand, everybody asked for study tips. So we're going to be going over study tips, which is really funny too. I was literally on the plane reading a book, and the guy next to me was oh, you must be in school because you're studying. And I was nope, I'm not actually. This is just what I do. I guess I'm a forever learner. Ohio, what's up? Or Idaho, yes, you are my neighbor. I'm literally 30 minutes from Idaho. I'm closer to Idaho than I am the rest of Washington. Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Let us know where you're coming in from today. We're hanging out. We're going to be talking about setting up cues. If you don't know what cues are, don't worry. We'll go over what cues are, the 4 main types of cues. There's more than 4, but there's really 4 main ones that you're going to want to know. And then we're going to go over basically like how to identify where your current cues are so you can stop cues for habits that you don't want. Like, think about that one habit where you're like, I really just don't want to do this anymore. Like, please let me know, y'all. I'm in CAD. We are really neighbors. We really are. What's up? Literally, like, we're right next door for real. Carrie, oh my gosh, that's my mommy's name too. I love that name. All right. So, cues, right? I always say, I'm like, we're going to wait. And then I just can't help myself because I'm so excited about this information, y'all. It really, truly, doom scrolling, right? Like, what's that habit? Doom scrolling. Another great example is, I think, hitting snooze. How many of y'all are like, in the morning, I would love to get up and like start going, but right now my habit is just to hit snooze. And even if you don't realize it's a habit, if you're doing it most days, it's a habit, babe. Like, I know it hurts to hear, and I've been totally getting stuck in this trap too. So we're going to go over all of that. And doom scrolling. How many of y'all doom scroll? How many of you guys are like, and you may not even realize the cause of it, but you get on your phone and you start scrolling. So we're going to talk about basically how to identify what's causing that doom scrolling, because that's the cue. Whether you realize it or not, like for me personally, I get stressed out and I go, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. I need to just like take a mental break for a second. So I'm going to doom scroll, right? The cue is feeling stressed, and that is what we would call an emotional trigger. Right. ADHD doom scrolling is rough. Oh yeah. Where are all of my neurospicy people at? Anybody who's ADHD neurospicy in the chat, if you've ever seen my content, you know, samesies. ADHD is a real thing. Time blindness, it all kind of adds up to those things, right? So doom scrolling, we're going to talk about how to identify, because again, it's a cue. Something is going off that's telling us, okay, I really want to scroll through my phone, because whether we like it or not or realize it or not, there is a reason that we want to start scrolling. It's that craving, because we get to laugh and we get to watch something. Dopamine hunting. Oh, I love that term. I've never heard that before, and I love that. ADHD here, Jenna, welcome, baby. You are in the right place, babe. Welcome to the right side of TikTok. Like, we're out here just making it work for ourselves, right? So I'll actually just go over real quick while people are starting to hop on. And I actually am getting ready to update this. Thank you for joining. All right, so you've got your cue, you've got your craving, you've got your response and your reward. Really, we're not even going to focus on craving, because the cue is really what gives us the craving, right? So we're stressed out, or maybe you're overwhelmed, or maybe it's just that time of day. It can be a time of day, and you want to start tracking these things too whenever you get a chance. So next time you're doom scrolling and you're like, okay, wait, why am I doing this? Reverse engineer it. If you don't know what the cue is, you can reverse engineer to figure out what the cue is. And this is what I did with doom scrolling. Mags, oh my gosh, yay, Mags, you're here. Welcome. Mags is like the OG of OGs, y'all. Okay, so if you are doom scrolling, right, we're just talking really quickly. We're going to give it like another 5 minutes and then we'll actually get into all of this. But we're talking about doom scrolling real quick, because y'all, if y'all are doom scrolling, hi, Max. I love it. If y'all are doom scrolling and you're like, why am I doing this? You can't figure it out, right? There is a cue that's setting that off, that's giving you the craving to get that dopamine that makes you open your phone so you can get that dopamine hit. Because whether we realize it or not, these phones are so addictive. These apps are so crazy addictive. They do such a good job of giving us dopamine, and the exact kind of dopamine. Like, have you ever been watching and you're like, wow, I just watched watched something, it made me so emotional, and now I'm crying, and then the next thing was funny. The app does that for a reason. The way it's interacting with your brain, the dopamine that it's giving you, it's all done very strategically. It's not like they're just showing you this content for fun. They know what they're doing. It's designed to keep you on the app. That's their job, right? And it's our job to kind of be aware, especially if we're adults. Like if you're a kid, I don't really think it's your job. I think unfortunately it's just hard. It's somebody else's job because you're a little one, right? But if you're an adult and you're trying to like adult and be doing the adult things, it is kind of our jobs to like set these up. We live in this world, unfortunately. Like I would love for it to be different. It's not. So we have to kind of make it different for ourselves, right? So if you're doom scrolling and you're like, okay, I've gotten to the point, I'm doom scrolling, I've got my reward, but you're sitting there and you're like, my brain is turning to actual mush. Like, I don't know about you, but after so much scrolling, I'm like, I feel like I can actually feel my brain cells dying right now. Like, this is so not good for me, right? So I want you to think, okay, I've got my reward. My response was just start scrolling. I was craving it because I know it's going to give me dopamine. I know this is a dopamine hunt for me. So now I want you to think, what happened right before you picked up your phone? What was the cue that happened before you grabbed your phone and started to do your doom scrolling, right? This is reverse engineering. This is one of the ways that you can figure out your cues, because once you remove your cue, you are able to change it, right? You're like, okay, so, or even if some cues can't even, I say remove, but that's actually really not correct. What I really mean to say is you can really change your cues and recognize them. Because for most people, at least let me speak for myself anyway, one of the reasons that I am going to start scrolling, one of the reasons I have that craving to get that dopamine from doom scrolling is because I got stressed out, is because I felt overwhelmed. It's this internal cue of, oh my gosh, I feel really stressed out right now, and I just need 5 minutes to alleviate, to take a break. This is totally normal. If you do this, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not like weak-minded. I hate that. I hate that saying so much, right? My cue is boredom, stress or not. Yes, that's another great one. Yes, thank you so much, Max, because 100% you're like, I'm bored. I need some sort of entertainment, right? So that's the cue. That's what's going off in your head. This is what's setting off that craving to open your phone to get that reward, right? They'll always pretty much go in this circle. Whether we like it or not, y'all, this is how habits are formed. This is how they're built. The other thing too is the more often, the more repeatable this habit is, the more likely it will become a solid habit, right? This is where things like working out a couple of times a week can be really hard because we're not doing it all the time. But opening your phone, scrolling on your phone, how many times a day are you doing that? Me, realistically, like at least half a dozen. At least. And I'm being like gracious. It's probably way closer to like a dozen or 2 dozen times that I'm opening my phone. So this habit is really getting concrete. Just in a couple of days, because it has so much potential to be repeated, right? So oh my gosh, y'all, I keep saying, I'm going to wait. We're already in it at this point. So we're just going to keep talking about it because it's too good. We can't stop now, right? So what you do is once you recognize, okay, so if I get stressed or if I get bored, we'll go with this because I think that's so true for so many people. Boredom, it was something that really used to be common. Like my best friend in my whole life is my 90-year-old grandma. I love talking to her. I love the perspective she has on things because she literally, y'all, grew up with a horse and buggy. Like she didn't have a car. She had a horse and buggy and lived on a farm in England. So to hear like, well, how was life then versus how is life now? It's vastly different. And it's always interesting to me because she's like, this generation just can't handle being bored, which I totally agree. I hate being bored. But for her, she's like, that's just a part of life. Boredom is good. It brings a lot of good things. Anyway, that's my rant on boredom because I do think we are such an overly entertained generation of people. Like I know I am anyway. So feeling bored, it makes you want to just rip out of your skin sometimes, right? Okay. So once you recognize our cue, it's to be bored. Now, this will probably happen. You're probably going to hop on your phone, because it's just an automatic, right? Again, you'll have to kind of catch it as you get into this point. Eventually, and I want this to be very clear too, because I think most people, they'll be like, and then you're just going to change your cue. And in theory, that's great. In reality, that's not how it's going to work, right? You're going to feel bored, and your first thing is going to go, okay, I'm craving some entertainment, and now I'm going to get on my phone and start scrolling. It's at this point when you're scrolling, when you're doing your response and you're starting to get that reward, that you're going to start to notice, oh, I'm doom scrolling right now. Oh my gosh, wait a second. I'm doom scrolling. Why am I doom scrolling? Because I was bored, right? Now, once you recognize that, we can now set up a new thing for ourselves. Okay, so once I get bored, instead of doom scrolling, I'm going to what? I mean, listen to a podcast, journal, read a book, go on a walk. There's so many other things. Pick up my house, right? There's so many things that we could be doing. The biggest thing is this will most likely have a delayed reward. Do y'all know what a delayed reward versus an immediate reward is? I want to make sure this is something that I recently learned. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's like the father of neuroscience and neuroplasticity. He's pretty genius. But he talks a lot about, no, I don't. Okay, so delayed reward, let me know. Do y'all, let's see if anybody else, delayed reward versus an immediate reward. You don't get an immediate satisfaction. Yes, 100%. I don't either. Okay, so really briefly, getting something good down the road. Exactly. Okay. So Kristen, 100%, you are right on. So one of the reasons that, again, doom scrolling is so attractive to us is because it is an immediate reward. You start scrolling, those are, 10-second, 15-second videos, maybe longer, but you're getting your reward in the first couple of seconds. Versus now, let me ask this. If you were to clean your house, if you picked up your house a little bit, would that feel rewarding after you look at your house? If you went on a walk, after your walk, would that feel rewarding? If you worked out, if you read a book or listened to a podcast, wouldn't you feel good after you did that thing? Right? There's a reward, and it's very much, totally. It's totally built in. And this is where liking versus wanting comes into play. We like to scroll through our phones, right? We like that dopamine hit. We like the dopamine hunting, but we want to go to the gym and work out. We want to clean our house. We want to read the book. That's wanting. And that's that delayed reward. So after you do the task, instead of during the task, like doom scrolling, during your task, during your scrolling, you're getting those hits of dopamine. They're very immediate. Your brain is like, this is great. We need to keep doing this because I'm bored and I'm really craving some entertainment. I'm really stressed out right now, overwhelmed. I'm craving some alleviation, right? So we're going to pick that phone up and then boom, immediate reward, right? Versus, okay, I'm really bored. You know what I really need to do? You know what's really going to make me feel better? I just need to go on like a quick 15-minute walk. I just need to get out of the house. I need to do the dishes, right? I'm going to feel better after I do this thing. But see where I said after I do this thing? It's the delayed reward. Also, too, the way, and I'm not going to get into all of the nitty gritty on this because I am not a neuroscientist. I will never pretend like I'm a neuroscientist. I am just a girl that loves neuroscience, and it kind of helps translate it from like these very, very brilliant people, right? So even with the delayed reward, that delayed dopamine that you get is so much more satisfying in your brain too. I don't know if it's because they give you more of it or if it's the way that it's given to you in your brain, but working out, after you work out or after you clean your house, the reward that you feel from that is going to be so much better. What if you made it into the game? Yes, I am so big on gamifying everything in your life. List of 5 things. You pick one blindly. So it's a game. Yes, 100%. And it's a little mini reward. And this is, again, This is like reward stacking. If you've ever heard of habit stacking, you can do the same thing with your rewards, right? So you can stack your habits up. So you're like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. And then after I, get up and I turn my alarm off, I'm going to go brush my teeth because I'm already in the habit of getting up. So now I'm just going to stack a new habit on top. Reward stacking is very similar, right? So I'm going to give myself this thing. So after I brush my teeth, I'm going to drink some coffee, which I know you're probably not supposed to do, but just like bear with me, okay? So after I brush my teeth, I'm going to drink some coffee. That's the reward that I'm going to give myself. But also you can make it a little game. Okay, I'm going to do my whole, brush my teeth skincare in less than 15 minutes. I'm going to time myself because I love a challenge and I love to be competitive. Hitting it underneath that time, that would also be a reward. So then I've stacked on 2 rewards. This has now made this even more alluring, right? It's making it even more craveable. And this is the key that so many people are missing, right? With this cues, with this habit loop, I should say. We have our cues. Those are just automatically, they're going off all day, every day. Again, when you know what your habits cues are, you have a little bit more room to adjust them as needed, right? So again, we're doom scrolling because we're bored. Now, what'll happen is as we start to reverse engineer this, as we realize we're on our phone scrolling, oh, I'm bored, that's why I'm scrolling right now. Then you're going to start to catch yourself. Then you're going to pick up your phone before you start to scroll. You'll go, oh my gosh, wait a second. Am I doing this because I'm bored right now? Is there something else I could do instead, right? And I say all the time, disrupt the cues, especially with doom scrolling. I talk about it. I'm like not sponsored or anything by this app. It's a totally free app. I just think it's great. It's called Stay Focused. You can set up time limits. So if okay, throughout the day, particularly like maybe these times of days, I'm going to start doom scrolling it like after work or in the middle of my day during lunch. I'm bored. I need some alleviation from the stress at work. I pick up my phone, I start doom scrolling. Set up a timer on your phone so you can only scroll for a minute or 5 minutes, right? You can set up to be like, I cannot be on this app for more than this amount of time. It's brilliant because it will disrupt your cue for you. It kind of automates that disruption. So then when you're scrolling and the little thing pops up and says, hey, you've scrolled your amount of time, like you set this up and, let's focus on something else. You can literally put on the screen, here are other things to do instead, right? That acts as a cue. So when you're scrolling and it disrupts your scrolling, it'll give you a little, I don't have I'm filming on my phone or I would show you. It'll pull up a little sign. I literally have on some of mine to say like, hey, during my work day, like, hey, babe, you're working right now. These are the things that you should really be doing because, work is important to me and I want to be successful at what I do. That feels really good. That's a reward. Feeling like I'm good and doing good at my job feels very rewarding, right? So I'm like, hey, here's my cue. I've now disrupted it. For those joining, yes, thank you so much, Mags. Thank you. Yeah, building better habits. It is in the link, so you can get all of this. We're going to be adding some more to this as well. And also, if you've purchased this or the Life Transformation Kit, you don't have to ever purchase anything again. I just send you new updates as they come. That's one of the things I love digital for, right? So again, we've automated a cue to set up for us. So this is going to pop up. It's going to go, hey, try these things instead. That has now given us a new thing. And what we really want to do is make that craveable. How can we, and this is especially for my neurospicy people, I know y'all are here. I know my ADHD people are here because birds of a feather flock together, right? Isn't it funny too did anybody else wind up getting diagnosed ADHD and now everything, they're like, oh, that's ADHD. Like people will be like, oh, that's ADHD. It's so funny to me how I'll be like, that's just how I am. And someone's like, no, babe, that's ADHD. I work with a lot of different doctors and everything, and it's always interesting to me. Yeah, where I'm like, oh, I just have to work for myself. I can't really do authority. They're like ADHD. I'm like, oh, I just have trouble with this. They're like ADHD. Anyway, so one of the things, and this is where I love self-help. I love the self-help world, but the self-help world is so built for neurotypical honestly men. Like if you're a neurotypical man, I think current self-help advice is great for you. I think if you are neurospicy or a woman, it doesn't address some of the fundamental things that we are dealing with. Like feeling like we had to give ourselves up and our identity up for everyone else. Like that's a huge thing in self-help. I have to just go on this rant real quick, y'all, and I'm sorry, but I see in self-help all the time, they're like, get clear on what you want and then go for it, right? Get clear on what you want and go for it. And I'm like, you know how hard that is if you don't know who you are because you've been abandoning yourself to make everyone else happy? It just doesn't work, right? We've got to start from ground zero, not ground like level 5, which is what it feels like. So same thing with this. It's really great advice and it's really true, but when you're ADHD, when you're neurospicy, it's going to be adjusted a little bit. So one of the things that we really want to focus on is making this craveable, right? I always say, oh, I don't have my candy right next to me. I usually have like candy literally right here on my desk. So when I do something that I know, like, okay, I'm going to do this thing for work, I'm going to literally pop some candy in. I'm going to pop in a sucker or something so I can start craving that little bit of sugar, gives me that dopamine. Recently, and now I'm like, they have ADHD, and they have ADHD. Yes, it's funny when you get diagnosed, you'll be like, are you ADHD too? Especially with your family. That was always the interesting thing to me where I'm like, oh, you don't have this problem. You're just ADHD, boo. Right? So a couple of different ways to make things a little more craveable. We already talked about it earlier. For those that are just now hopping on though, gamify. Gamify, I cannot stress this enough. I know people have said they're like, life is like a video game. Life is like a video game, babe. If this is a video game, then we're going to figure out exactly how to play it. And we're going to play it super duper well, right? So one of the things that we can do is gamify. I love to gamify with a timer. I do this actually, I'm just going to grab my planner real quick so y'all can see. This is also in the Life Transformation Kit, or you can get the whole book on Amazon. So I literally have mine. I do power hours. I know a lot of people have had questions on this. You can do this into a couple of different ways. You can break your power hour up. You can do it into 25-minute bits. You can do it into 15-minute bits. Whatever works best for you. I suggest starting with 15. So you're going to do 15 minutes and then 5 minutes off, 15 minutes, 5 minutes off. So you'll have one goal that you're going to focus on doing for an hour. It doesn't matter if you complete the goal or not. I know this is one of the things that I talk about a lot because just simply doing it is going to give you that reward, right? Just doing your task is going to give you a reward. Now, this is where the real magic happens, especially because I know a lot of you are also, I'm going to say it and you're going to be like, damn it, Julia. A lot of you are perfectionists. Where are my perfectionists in the chat? Where are my recovering perfectionists at? Are y'all here today? Yep, Max. I was like, yep, hello. Yes, my people. I can't help myself. I know, because it feels so good. It feels so good to get everything right? It's a sexy feeling. Like, oh, I'm not out here hating, babe, because samesies. I've been there too. So one of the things, I literally refer to myself as a recovering perfectionist. A perfectionist who accomplishes nothing. Oh, babe, I have been there. Oh my gosh, I feel that so hard. Hi, Emmy. Hello, baby. We're talking about cues. We're talking about perfectionism. We're talking about time chunking and setting up things that are to make our habits more craveable. So we also have the whole workbook to building better habits on the page, on my Etsy page. All right. So one of the things for my perfectionists in particular, right, is I want you to focus on, instead of running in place, I know the feeling. Yes. Oh my gosh, y'all, I have a little metaphor that we're going to go over. You get everything right and it makes other people happy, which makes you happy, and crave it. Oh, this chat, y'all. It's crazy too. What hurts is when you're really self-aware too. When you're like, well, I know I'm a perfectionist, and I know I'm a perfectionist because it makes everybody else happy, and that makes me happy, and that's very craveable, right? It's so hard, right, to be that self-aware too. So one of the things that I always recommend, this has helped me, it makes you want to pull your skin off, y'all, but the more you do it, because you will wind up getting the reward. And this is what it's all about. How can we give ourselves that reward without it being about other people, without it making other people happy, and without it having to be perfect? So one of the things you're going to do is just flip the script, right? Flip the whole script. Instead of accomplishing the task, right? Okay, so I'm doing keyword research. We're doing a course that's going to be launching at the end of this month. I am so excited. The best and worst thing ever. All right, so it is. And let me tell you too, I love the perfectionisms, because at the end of the day, if you're perfectionist, there's a lot of really incredible qualities that you have. And that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on the positive qualities, and we really want to hone in on that, because, and you even said it, right? It feels like we're just running in place until we drown. I call that fighting the current. Have y'all ever swam in like the ocean or in the river before, where you're swimming in a current? Let me know, because I grew up in Northern California. I grew up right on the ocean, and we would talk about how to swim with the current, right? If we had to go in the ocean as little kids, we would all get the right. So have any of you ever swam where there's a current in the river or in the ocean, or I guess lakes probably have currents too? But when you swim against the current, which is what metaphorically so many people are doing, particularly my neurospicy people, because this world was built for neurotypical. We know that. We all know that to some extent, right? So we have to, instead of swimming in their current, we need to find our own current. We need to swim in our own current. Because what happens is when you swim in the current, or you swim against the current, you're swimming against your own current to try and match somebody else's current. You are going to swim in place. You are going to get nowhere, and you are going to exhaust yourself. And if you've ever been in the river before or in the ocean and tried to swim against the current, you know this is true. You will go nowhere, or you'll get a little bit far, but it's exhausting. It's so exhausting, right? And this is why you look at other people and you're like, well, why are they getting so far? Because they're swimming in their own current, babe. That's the current that works for them. It doesn't work for you. So we got to find where your current is so you can swim in that. Because once you find your current and you start swimming in it, things get easier. You start moving forward. Again, metaphorically, but if you've ever swam in a current before, you know this is true. Gotta find my flow. It's funny because we have such a hard time. Yes, 100%. You have to find the flow that works for you, right? The flow that's going to work for you. This is what this is all about, giving you the tools and getting you in the right flow, right? So again, because you are a perfectionist, one of the things that I want you to do, I am so serious, like starting this week, what is it, Saturday? I don't know if you guys set goals for yourself on Sunday. No biggie if you don't. We love that. We love a day off. If you guys follow me, you know I took last week off and like straight up ripped a page out of my planner. You can actually see where I ripped the page out because it was blank. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to fill this in with anything. So if you want to take time off, I am highly encourage that. I think having rot days, that's something else that we can talk about. But I literally will schedule rot days or like bare minimum days, you can call it either or. But we'll get into that on another time because those, again, for perfectionists, and like the whole, when people are like, rest is productive. I'm like, when you actually write out, like, scroll through my phone, sleep in, take a nap as a to-do list, and you mark those things off after you do them, you do feel productive. Your brain doesn't really know or really care, to be honest, if what you put on your to-do list was take a nap or what you put on your to-do list was workout, right? It doesn't matter. It just likes the fact that you crossed something off. Your brain is like, ooh, I accomplished something. Doesn't matter if it was doing nothing, quote unquote, or if it was doing all of the things. I'm trying to schedule my days so I don't feel bored and doom scroll all day and I feel like I failed. Babe, you did not fail. There's no such thing as failing. You're just trying. You're figuring it out, right? You're going to get better and better and better. There's the only time you fail, truly, I know it's like I would hear people say this and it kind of sounds cheesy, but it's true. The only time you fail is when you fully give up. when you're like, you know what, I'm actually just gonna like wave the white flag and I guess I'm doom scrolling for the rest of my life now. But you're not gonna do that. I know you're not, especially Mags. I'm like, I know you're not, Mags. So you're not failing. You're just figuring it out, right? And again, self-talk and the way that we talk to ourselves around these things is so important, because instead of at the end of the day being like, I was on my phone more than I wanted to be, I doom scrolled today, I did those things, I failed. No, you didn't. You're like, you know what? Okay, so when was I doom scrolling? Well, I was bored. Okay, so what am I going to do tomorrow when I notice that I'm doom scrolling because I'm bored? That's how you set yourself up. That's where you're like, I'm not failing, I'm learning. I'm just learning from these things. And some days I'm going to get it better than others. Some days I really do need to be doom scrolling more than others because my brain needs that break, right? So one of the things I want you to do this week is, for a goal, instead of it being about accomplishing the goal, especially for my people that are like, I'm the perfectionist that gets nothing accomplished. Where are my people at that are like, yep, I'm perfectionistic, I have to get it all right, but because I'm trying to get it all right, I very, very rarely ever get it done. Right? Oh, I'm saying this and I'm like, man, I feel like I've called myself out on these things because this was me for so long. Yes. Oh my gosh, I know, right? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to set up a power hour. Now you can do this in a couple of different ways. I would recommend breaking it up into 4 sections. So pick one goal. And again, literally admit that to my husband last night. Oh, Carrie. My husband and your husband are going to start a support group, like marriedtoperfectionists.com. I can see it being a thing. Okay, so I would recommend break it up into 4 things, especially too, if you're one of those people. I set really big goals for myself that are realistically not going to get accomplished in one day. Realistically not going to get accomplished in an hour. I'm going to do all of these things. And then it's like, well, no, babe, no, be real, right? So write out, okay, this is the goal that I want to do. And then break it into 4 small tasks that you can accomplish in about 15 minutes. Now, if you have time blindness, don't worry about what can and can't, because realistically your brain probably isn't going to be able to do that all the time. I need little goals. Yes. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm so about this. I am a goal breakdowner. I'll do a video actually next week about creating goal maps and breaking down goals that I've been using that's like legitimately helped me. Like I said, I'm doing this 30-day course that's going to be launching later this month. And it's like such a big thing to try and do. And I'm trying to do it all in like one day. And I had to figure out how to break it down. Anyway, enough about me. We're going to get back to the power hour. So break it down into 4 small tasks. Now, this is the other thing. If you are doom scrolling already, we're not going to cut you off completely, right? That's just so crazy to think like, I'm going to stop doom scrolling. We're not going to do that in one day. That's just not going to happen. It's going to be a slow fade, just like we slowly faded into it. Right? Like if I asked you, at what point did you really start doom scrolling? You probably couldn't tell me like a time in a day. You'd be like, I don't know, it just started happening, right? It's going to happen the same way. I know it sounds so sexy and it's so alluring to make those changes immediately, but when you make them immediately, they can change back immediately, right? So a slow fade into whatever it is that you want will always outwin. Okay. Sorry, I just get so excited about these things, y'all. Okay, so for your power hour, you're going to do 15 minutes on. So you're going to do a 4 tasks. So this is my big goal. Keyword research, hashtag research, account research. So let's say, actually, I'll do it on this one. So we'll do it real time together real quick. Okay. So I need to outline my funnel. So I'm going to break this into 4 different goals for myself that I can do. So first thing I need to do is outline it. Fill in. I need to research. And you can tell too, as I'm doing this, my brain is like, okay, first thing I need to do is outline my funnel. Well, that's probably the biggest thing that I need to do. But really, before I even do that, I need to research. And this is as you start to break down your funnel. I even recommend like using little sticky notes. If you're like me and you like things to still kind of look aesthetic, I know some people will be like, that looks aesthetic to you. It does to me, but listen, I know my handwriting's not great, but it's real and that's what we do here. So you can always put them on sticky notes too. You can put all of your different tasks and be like, this is the task for this. This is the task for this. Put them on sticky notes, and then you can lay them out. Like, oh, you know what? Before I can outline, I actually really need to research and just double check everything that I'm going to put in there. Then once I have it outlined, then I can start filling it in. Then I can start adding details. Right? So again, we've got it broken down. So what I'm going to focus on is just doing this for 15 minutes. I'm going to do 15 minutes of research, and then I'm going to have a 5-minute break. You can do whatever you want with your 5 minutes. If you want to scroll on your phone, scroll on your phone. The only thing I will say is set up, stay focused, so it will time you out after 5 minutes. I'm so serious. I think TikTok even has it within app that you can be like, don't let me scroll for more than this amount of time, right? So that's the first thing, is we're going to focus on doing it for the time instead of for the task. How many of you have heard, oh, the best way to be productive is to pick 3 big tasks and accomplish those 3 tasks every day? Has anybody heard of that little like productivity or goal setting hack before? I know this is like one thing in every planner that I used to use. They would have like top 3 goals. That's cool and all, but if you suffer from time blindness, your goals are probably going to take 16 hours out of your 24-hour day that you have other things to do, like sleep and eat and work, right? Like you have other things going on. So you'll pick these massive goals, at least I would, that were never getting accomplished, and then it would compound. Most importantly, and this is what I really am trying to teach you guys, is to trust yourself, because when you're like, I'm going to work for an hour, and your goal is literally just to work for the hour, right? If I accomplish finishing this funnel out, cool. If not, it doesn't matter, because the whole point was to go for an hour straight. And then we've done that hour straight, then guess what? We're checking it off, because this will help you trust yourself. When you say, I'm going to do this one thing, I now trust myself that I will do it. Why? Because I've done it so many times before. I have proven to myself that I am the kind of person that does what she says she's going to do. When I say I'm going to do something for myself, I am not questioning. I'm going to do it. I know, right? Maybe I won't do the whole thing, but I'll work on it for an hour. I'll make some progress on it. And that's the point, right? This is literally why it's called the progress planner, not the perfectionist planner, not the I got everything done today planner, not the productivity plan. No, like progress. We're making progress. We're learning to trust ourselves, right? So for the next week, set up an hour, break it up into 4 sections, give yourself 5 minutes off. So it'll really be realistically like an hour and 20 minutes, the full task. And again, you don't have to do this all in one sitting. You can do 15 minutes in the morning. You can do 15 minutes in the afternoon, right? Break it up however your day needs to be broken down into. Again, all about giving you tools. Now, this is really where the magic happens, particularly for my perfectionists. Once you start to make some progress, right? Once you start to do your thing and you start to make some progress, you're going to take that first break, that first 15 minutes. Really important too. After the first 15 minutes, come in and physically cross the thing off. Be like, okay, I'm done with the first 15 minutes. I don't care if you finished the task. I don't care if you finished the task, cross it off regardless. The only time, because I was saying on this, I'm like, oh, I've got to research first. I don't care. I'm crossing off research. And then if I need 15 minutes more of research, I'm going to update this one to say research, right? And then I'm going to cross it off again. 15 minutes. The goal is not to finish the task. The goal is just to go for 15 minutes. Now, this crazy thing will happen. After your first 15 minutes, you're going to come in, you're going to cross this off. You're going to scroll on your phone. Like I said, give yourself 5 minutes. Probably at the 3-minute mark, you're going to go, you know what? I feel really, really good from accomplishing that thing. I feel really good from doing that 15 minutes. You know what I really want to do? I want to do that again. Oh my gosh, wait a second. I'm really craving the sense of accomplishment I got from that. Especially, like I said, my perfectionists that have been like, yeah, I'm trying to do it all and do it all perfect, and I'm doing none of it, none of the time, because it's impossible to be perfect all of the time, right? You are going to start craving. You're going to be like, oh, wow, that felt really good. Oh my gosh, wait a second. I want to do that again. Well, perfect. We've got it set up for you to do it just a few more times. Again, what did I say? The more you do something, the more likely it'll solidify into a habit. That's why scrolling on our phone is such an easy habit to build, where going to work out a couple of times a week, it's hard because we're only doing it a few times a week. We're scrolling on our phone how many times? I mean, at least half a dozen, right? I'll speak for myself, probably more in the dozen plus range. I could actually go on Stay Focused and probably tell you, but I am genuinely too scared to do that because it's a true thing, right? So then the reward starts to set in. You're like, wow, I start to feel really good from that. Now, if you have time, as you start to do this, and like I said, for the first week, really please only do it for the hour. If you finish it or not, this is more of a perfectionist activity too. So we're not just doing it for productivity, or we're not just doing it for the goal. I really want you to cut yourself off at that hour if you've accomplished the task or not. Give yourself the reward, cross it off of your to-do list. And if you need to get back to it tomorrow, guess what? You're going to do a power hour the next day. You're going to do it again tomorrow, break it into 4 sections, make it super duper repeatable, right? So we're going to start to get that solidified. That new habit, right? Now, because I know so many of you are perfectionists, next week, after you've done this for a week, after you've realized it feels really, really good to accomplish that goal, like, oh, I genuinely don't know a better feeling, truthfully. Like, have you ever laid in bed after just a day of like getting your shit done and being like, wow, I feel amazing. I feel so good. I feel like the person that I want to be. I feel like I did the things that I wanted to do. I think truly, like, one of the reasons I have accomplished as much is because I do have an addictive personality, and that feeling at the end of the day is the most addictive feeling ever. It feels so good, right? And this is where I'm like, that instant gratification of scrolling on our phone, sure, it feels good in the moment, but there's not that prolonged where you're like, ooh, I am feeling really good, even like an hour or two after, right? Even after you work out, for a couple of hours, you feel good. Even after you've worked on a goal for an hour, you feel good, right? You feel really good about it. So that's the whole thing. After that week, then you are opened up. You are only, please follow this. I'm not big on like the rules thing, but like, listen, please follow this. Make it a challenge for yourself. Make it fun. Only do the power hour for a week. After the week, if you feel like, okay, I haven't accomplished this task, right? Okay, so let's say I did my first hour and I'm still filling in my details. At this point, I know I'm like, that felt really good. You can extend your power hour out to complete the task. In fact, like 90% of you are going to want to do this. It is such a good feeling after that first, 15, first or second 15-minute set. You're going to be like, that felt really good. I want to keep doing that. I want to keep doing that. Same thing with like working out, cleaning your house. It's better to have a really shitty workout. And you know what? Actually, I'll give you a great example. I am getting back into working out. I went on a vacation and I didn't work out on my vacation because it's a vacation. So I wasn't going to worry about trying to stick with my, workout routine or anything. Getting back into my workout routine, I started doing a video. I was like, I am tired. I don't feel like doing this. I did it for like 10 minutes of like the 30-minute video, and I turned it off because it doesn't matter. It's better to do a shitty workout and start solidifying that habit loop again, right? I've got my cue set up. Okay, I do it on my tablet. So I've got my tablet. I've got my yoga mat. Those are all my cues. It's the certain time of day too, right? Usually after work. These are all cues. Again, the time of day, external, having that mat out, external. Those are all the cues that are setting me up. I'm craving that feeling that I get after I work out. It's a good feeling, right? So then I start working out, and then again, it's kind of prolonged, but it does happen. Even if you don't do the whole thing, even if you stop, I don't know if anybody's told you this, you don't have to finish the workout. As long as you start it, that's what happens. What habits are we talking about? Hey, Anna, welcome. I know we have some people that just joined on. So we're talking about doom scrolling, but mostly we're just talking about the overall habit loop. So cues are what is going to set off your habit. There are 4 main types of cues. There are more types of cues that we'll interact with, but every day I guarantee you are interacting with an internal cue, an external cue, a self cue, or cues from other people, right? So that internal cue, like I was saying, I feel bored. I feel stressed, I feel overwhelmed, so I'm going to get on my phone and I'm going to start scrolling because I know it's going to give me that dopamine. I'm dopamine hunting. I'm so obsessed with that phrase, right? So my response is to get on the phone, and then boom, I get that reward, right? Pretty much instantaneously. And again, we talked about instant reward versus the prolonged reward, right? Like how many of you feel good after you work out? You feel good after you work out, but you don't want to work out in that moment, right? Like we talked about liking versus wanting. We like to scroll on our phones. We like to do that, but we really want to go to the gym. We really want to do all of these things. Right. Thank you so much, Mags. I just like adore you for real. Okay. So internal cue would be, the example would be feeling bored. So we doom scroll. The external cue could be something like our phone going off, our phone alarm, and then we hit snooze. That's the external cue. Our phone went off, the alarm's going off, hit snooze on that bad boy. Again, we talk about this a lot. If you are hitting snooze on your phone, move your phone so it's not next to your bed. You can get an alarm clock too if you really want to invest the money. I mean, I think they're like $10. It's not a huge investment, but you can also just put an alarm clock too. So then your phone is further away, right? Harder to hit snooze if you're already up walking around. You're like, I'm already up at this point. So then we've got cues set by yourself. So these are, again, things like that alarm going off. What did I say? I've got my yoga mat set up after work. I see my yoga mat and I'm like, oh, that's my cue set up for myself. And then we've got cues from others. If you have any kids or pets, I don't need to tell you. My dogs will tell me when it's 6:55 every night because they get dinner at 7. So they have the cue. I don't know how they know what time it is every day, but they will start bugging me. This is my cue. I need to feed them, right? I need to take them out. Right, so these are all of the cues. And then you have your craving. Again, for doom scrolling, it feels so good. It feels so good. These apps are so well designed. We'll see a sad video, we'll see a happy video. It takes our emotions on a complete roller coaster, not necessarily in a bad way, but it can be very exhausting. And after so much of it, it's too much, right? So craving, we're like, oh, I need to get that dopamine. We open up our phone and then we get the reward. And then we get our reward from it, right? So one of the things too, I know if people are just now hopping on, we talked about this in the very beginning, but I want to mention it again, is reverse engineering, right? So a lot of times they'll talk about, there's kind of 2 ways to figure out your cues. You can do, and I didn't mention this in the beginning, so you can do what's called a habit audit. I was introduced to a habit audit. They're like, do your whole day, right? So I wake up in the morning, I hit snooze, and then I, grab coffee, and then I take my dogs out on a walk, and then I do, right? And then you go through and rate them. So that's how you would do a habit audit. That's really great for habit stacking. I think one of the best things to do with a habit audit, if you are trying to discover your cues, instead of doing your whole day, is pick a time of day, right? Like morning to me is if I start off my morning right, I'm just like setting myself up for success all day. So I'm very focused on the morning. When you're serious about an audit, yes, it can be surprising. It is really enlightening when you are true with yourself about those habit audits too, right? So if you don't want to do the full day, I totally understand. Pick a time of day and really dive deep into like, okay, in my morning routine, my morning habits, I wake up, I do this thing, I do this thing, I do this thing, right? All of those things. Now, the other way that you can figure out what your cues are is to reverse engineer. So like we talked about doom scrolling, right? You're probably not going to realize that you had a cue for doom scrolling until you're already doom scrolling, right? Or you're already opened up your phone to start doom scrolling. So at this point, we want to reverse engineer it. So we've got we've got the reward. We're doom scrolling. We're on our phone. We're like, dopamine. Our brain loves it. Feeling good. Keep scrolling, right? We're like, oh, wait a second. Hold on. I'm getting my reward right now. I've responded. I'm doom scrolling. What was the cause of this? What was I feeling or what was happening right before I started to doom scroll? That's how you reverse engineer to figure out what a cue was. You're like, oh my gosh, you know what? It's noon. It's the middle of the day. That's that external or self, right? And I'm bored. And I need something to entertain me, something to keep me going, right? Okay, so that's our cue, that internal. And again, External cues, like I said, like seeing my yoga mat. So like, oh, okay, there's my yoga mat. There's my workout shoes by the door. I'm going to throw them on and I'm going to start working out, right? That's that external cue. Internal cues are harder to catch right away, right? You probably aren't going to be as aware of them as you are those external cues, right? Because it's going on inside. We don't have that visual cue, that visual trigger for us. So, but there's still cues nonetheless, right? So I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling bored. That's the cue. So what you'll do is now you've given yourself some information. You've given yourself some like, oh, okay, so I know now when I'm feeling bored, when I'm feeling stressed, I'm going to start to go for my phone so I can get that dopamine, so I can get that reward that scrolling gives us, right? So then what'll start to happen is you'll start to become more aware. And again, it's a slow phase. Could you tell me realistically, like when was the point that you really started becoming addicted to your phone? At what point did you really start doom scrolling all day, every day? Or, you know, a portion of your day? There's not going to be a date and time that you can really tell me because it slowly happened, right? And it's going to work the same way reverse engineering it. And it's going to work the same way changing this habit, right? So we've got our cue all that goes off, right? Now, we probably won't notice it the first couple of times, but at least we've now given ourselves that self-talk. We are aware, okay, and then like, oh, okay, so this is happening. This is the loop that I'm in. So once it starts to happen, you're going to start opening your phone, getting a few scrolls in and going, oh my gosh, you know what? I'm doing this because I'm bored. Now you've given a chance to disrupt that. Now you can turn your phone off or, like I said, set up stay focused if you want to make it automatic. If you know in the middle of the day, I'm always doom scrolling because I'm bored. At the end of the day, I'm doom scrolling because I'm stressed or I'm overwhelmed. These are just my personal examples, but I think they're probably pretty universal. I think most people get bored in the middle of the day. Most people are feeling stressed toward the end of the day. Totally normal, right, y'all? So once you realize that you start to do this, you're starting to get that reward. You're going to start to catch it now at the response, right? Oh, okay, hold on. I just opened my phone. It's the middle of the day. You know why I did that? I bet it's because I'm bored. I bet it's because I'm bored. And again, now you have a chance to give yourself a new cue. Give yourself, and again, these external cues are so very helpful. My brain just doesn't work at the end of the day. Oh yeah, decision fatigue, babe. Oh my gosh, if you feel like your brain is just mushed at the end of the day, probably because information overload, especially if you're scrolling throughout the day, information overload and decision fatigue, one of the best things you can do. And it's really hard to when you're like, my brain is mushed, right? Take 20 minutes and do as much as you can for the next day. Pick your outfits out, pick out what meals you're going to eat. I know that can be like a hard one for some people. I use my safe food map. So I know like I'm going to eat one of these three things. Like it's not really a decision at that point. It's more of a process of elimination, right? Pick out, you know, an outfit for yourself for tomorrow. Write out your to-do list, right? So you have maybe not the whole to-do list, but some of the things that you need to get done. So you are not thinking about that. You're not taxing yourself the next day. You're getting yourself all set up. And so the next day you can get up, you can start to go. You will give yourself so much more brain power at the end of the day, right? Not taking in too much information and not giving yourself all of these decisions to make every day. Yes, can I give examples for self and others and how self/internal are different? Yes, okay, so like we were saying, so an example of that internal would be feeling stressed. Has anybody ever felt stressed or bored and then started to doom scroll? Right? And if you never realized this before, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, wait a second. Yeah, I've totally started to doom scroll because I was bored or because I was stressed out about something. So that feeling, that is an internal cue. And this is where I'm like, they're hard to catch and not a lot of people talk about. Like, a lot of times when you hear cues, they're talking about external cues. Like, oh, I saw my coffee mug, so I got coffee in the morning. I walked out to the kitchen and I saw my coffee maker, I got coffee. External cue. Those internal cues are the things that you are feeling, right? I feel stressed. I feel this. I feel like I have to go to the bathroom. Those are all cues, right? Internal cues. Yes. Okay. So self cues, that's actually a great question. So a self cue is something that I set up for myself. So like I said, working out, it's kind of a combination. I work out after work. I've got my yoga mat set up, external cue. I've got my tablet set up with the video that I'm going to do, external cue. The self cue is that it's that time of day. I've set this up for myself because it is after work, right? Again, same thing with others. Like it's usually, I always use my dogs as an example. They will tell me when it's time to eat and time to take them out. They have that cue. They're nudging my hand. They're saying, hey, mama, time for some dinner. I'm trying not to say it too loud because I don't know if they're in here and I don't want them to freak out, right? So these cues that are, like I said, set for yourself is something that you kind of thought in advance. That internal cue, you probably aren't giving as much thought to it. It's probably more natural and less deliberate, where this one you're kind of trying to set that cue up for yourself. You're trying to do something for yourself with that. Where the internal cue is something that's probably naturally happening. This is probably the most common cue too, is internal, and we are so unaware of these, and this is where we will start in that loop because we got stressed out or we got angry or we got something happened internally and now we crave something again and we respond to it. I think even simple things like going to the bathroom, feeling hungry, those are all internal cues, right? Your internal cue is saying, I need to go to the restroom, I need to go make myself some food, right? Internal feelings. Oops, sorry. All of this is your book. Yes, it's all in the book. All of this is in the Building Better Habits. Or I think if you want the food list, that should be in the Life Transformation Kit. If not, let me know and I'll send it over to you. What if you feel tired and unmotivated? Oh my gosh, do a bare minimum day. It's so funny to me how many people, when I would coach one-on-one, this is something that we would do first thing pretty much, is people are like, I'm so tired, I'm so burnt out, I'm so unmotivated, I don't even know where to start. When I think about starting, I want to cry because I'm tired. I just have no motivation. Schedule a bare minimum day. Honestly, if I could convince you, schedule a whole week. This is where you are going to do the least amount of possible. The least amount, right? And particularly women that I talk to, especially women that are moms or women that are married, right? Or in a relationship, we hold so much more and we wind up doing so much more than needs to get done, right? So a lot of people that I talk to, or women that I used to coach in particular, they would be like, well, I can't, like, what am I going to do for a bare minimum day? I'm like, don't do the dishes. Don't do the dishes. If you live by yourself, it doesn't matter. Don't do them. What does it matter, right? If you live with somebody, guess what? If they want the dishes done, they can do the dishes. If you live with kids, like, well, maybe to a certain age, you're still going to have to like feed them and everything. But like, listen, I have a friend, her kids are like, oh my gosh, 11 now? Oh my God, he's so big. Sorry. He's like 10. But she's done this before where she's like, bare minimum day, we're doing the least amount of possible. Guess what? You can make your own dinner. You're going to have to figure it out someday. You're going to be an adult and have to make yourself dinner. Guess what? You're starting now. Ask me questions. I'm doing the least amount possible. I might shower, maybe. Probably not though, right? Like bare minimum day. This is what's going to be really interesting too, especially when I tell people, I'm like, do it for a whole week, do a bare minimum. It's like a rot week. Have you guys ever heard of when people are like, I just want to rot? When people tell me that, I'm like, just do it, literally. And I'm so serious. Write in your to-do list, rot, do nothing, scroll on my phone, take a nap, don't do the dishes. Put it in your to-do list to not do things. Like, don't do the dishes. Oh, I didn't do the dishes today. Check. Bare minimum day. Again, when people say rest is productive, I literally make my rest productive by putting it on my to-do list. Sleeping in, all of these things I have written in my to-do list before, right? Now, the interesting thing is, after day 2 or 3, you will be tired of rotting. You will be like, this has been fun. I really needed this break. But actually, I'm ready to get back into it, right? I have never coached anybody one-on-one that has realistically gotten through the full week. Usually day 3 or 4, they message me and they're like, I really need to change something up. Like, this has been so fun, but I'm like ready for something new. Again, it's all about going with the current. Yes, small goal days. Yes, 100%, right? So it's all about going with the current, going with your flow. If your flow is telling you I need to do nothing, then listen to it. And again, I think some of one of the concerns that I would always get is people think, well, if I start doing nothing, if I do the bare minimum, I'm not going to want to get back into it. Like if I'm unmotivated now, I'm not going to, get back into the flow of you will, I promise you, especially if you're a perfectionist. Perfectionism to me at its very core just means you really do. You get a good reward when you accomplish things, right? So again, do nothing and put it on your to-do list. Make it an accomplishment. Doing nothing, particularly for my people that are doing all of the things, right? Need to dash for dinner. When are you doing a session on habits? Again, I'll have a schedule posted for Go Live. So we'll have a Go Live next Saturday. Yep, 100%. What is the reward one receives when scrolling? Oh my goodness. Our phones are set up, particularly these apps that we're on, like the one that you're on right now. Hi, hello. It's set up to be addictive, y'all. Maybe I don't think people really know this, but you do, and just so we're all aware, the people that make these apps, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, they have people who used to work at casinos creating slot machines. Slot machines are also very addictive. They give you that really fast reward, right? Lots of lights, lots of sounds, lots of colors, and then a little bit of a reward that goes right with it, right? Boom. So you want to do it again. That's how a slot machine is created. It's made to be addictive and it's made to keep you sitting there. They have people who create those machines also creating these apps. It's like one of those things. You want to know it, right? Now, knowledge is power, right? So when you start to scroll, you're dopamine hunting. Your brain is doing some dopamine hunting and you will get that reward. Yes, dopamine hits. Little satisfying. Yep, 100%. You start to, again, if you've watched something that makes you laugh, you're getting dopamine from it. If you've watched something that informs you, you're getting dopamine from it. We get dopamine from learning, y'all. So like my videos, they're not super duper funny, but they are probably telling you something. They're giving you some kind of information. That's really rewarding, right? Again, these are all things, so pretty much instantaneously, you're getting that reward, you're getting that hit of dopamine. That's why it's so addictive too. That's why we call it doom scrolling, and you get stuck in this pattern because it's extremely repeatable. The more something is repeatable, the more likely it will solidify into a habit. The more likely, right, if we can repeat it, the more likely we feel bored, we have that internal cue go off, the more likely we are to grab our phone and scroll because we know it's instantaneous and it's very repeatable. So giving us information is us receiving, yes, 100%. Yep, all of this time that you guys, and again, it's a little more prolonged. It's not like a funny video or a sad video. Those are going to be a much faster hit of dopamine. When you're laughing, ha ha ha, dopamine. I mean, not that a fake laugh, but you know what I mean, right? You get that dopamine really quickly. But those longer videos, if you ever watched a video, it's like, more like 2 or 3 minutes, and you kind of watch to the end because you're learning something from it. That's a little bit of a prolonged, right? You didn't get the dopamine at the very beginning, but you did get it at the end. You stuck with it. Your brain was like, ooh, good job. That was great. We did it. And we learned something. Wow, that was really useful. Boom, dopamine, baby. So even sad information, yep, 100%. Even feeling sad, again, in the way these apps are set up, y'all, have you ever watched something that's really sad and then the next video is really happy? You're like, isn't that weird? Like, wouldn't they, they know what videos they're showing you back to back. They know it's not an accident. It's very crafted. And so they know we're going to give you this sad thing. It makes you feel really human or makes you feel really emotional, right? You're going to get dopamine from that. Our brain gives us dopamine for so many things, right? And it's kind of the way it gives us dopamine and what it gives us dopamine for is what matters, right? That's where I was saying, how many of you guys feel like you're like, oh, right, I really want to go to the gym. We want to go to the gym. We don't like to go to the gym, but after we go to the gym, we feel good. An hour after we go to the gym, we feel good. Sometimes 2 or 3 hours after we go to the gym, we feel good. That is that prolonged, right? It doesn't happen right away, but it does happen and it gives us more slowly over time, right? So you get that reward when you go to the gym. After you finish that workout, your brain is like, boom, here's some dopamine, and it continues to give you that dopamine, right? Unlike your phone, right, where you get that dopamine right away, but then afterwards you kind of come on a dopamine down, right? Your brain gets boom, bunch of dopamine, and then you don't have as much, and that's why you feel kind of crappy after you doom scroll, because your brain just released so much dopamine so quickly, right? It felt really good in the moment, but then afterwards your brain is like, whoa, poof, I can't be producing any more dopamine. I have maxed out. I mean, your brain really can't max out, but it gets to a point where your brain's like, we're done. We're not really producing anymore, and we're not going to continue to produce more for you. Unlike working out, where it happens for such a long time afterwards. And that's why we really want to work out, but we really like to scroll on our phones, right? That's that difference between liking and wanting. And next thing you know, you've been scrolling for ages, hunting for dopamine. Yep, 100%, because your brain knows. I've done this before. Our brains are smart, man. They're really smart little things. So they knows I've done this before. I've gotten the reward, right? I'm craving this, so I'm going to keep scrolling because I know it will happen. It will give me that reward, right? And again, it's just that cue. And it's really crazy because every time you scroll is really kind of giving you a new cue for yourself, emotional, whatever it is, right? New cue, new craving. And that's where I'm like, it's such a repeatable, doom scrolling is so incredibly repeatable, right? Oh my goodness, guys, I just realized we are, I just love these lives. I love y'all so much. I love doing lives. I could just talk forever. But yes, okay, so that was really, really everything, again, on liking versus wanting rewards. Hi, Vinu. Hi, baby. I will make sure that I download this and I post it on YouTube for anybody who wants to watch the whole video. It'll start probably about 5 minutes, and I always try to put the start time on there. But does anybody have any other questions? I know that was a lot of information that I threw at you. Some takeaways for the week too, while I have you guys type out any questions that you want. So this week, especially for my perfectionists, we're going to focus on power hours, right? So we are going to focus on doing something for the time versus accomplishing the task, right? It felt validating. I love you. So for the next week, this is what you're going to try. If you are a perfectionist, if you are the perfectionist where you're like, I'm trying to do all of the things and I'm accomplishing nothing, right? This is what you're going to focus on. If you are feeling unmotivated, you're feeling like, I just can't do it, feeling like all of, and you're like, I'm not there. I want you to do the bare minimum week. You're going to do at least one day where you just fully rot, do absolutely nothing. Absolutely. I like the disappearing for 3 months. Yes. Oh my goodness. This is all, if you guys are ever looking at my planners, I have all of the notes of what I plan to film content with. So, all right, so let's see, just making sure we don't have questions. Does the ultimate workbook cover what you talked about today? Yes, it does. It is, I wonder if I can scroll up and show you the cover. Yeah, everything we talked about today, minus the actual planner, is all in the workbook. So it's this covered workbook right here. So you can get all of that. It goes over literally all of the things, y'all. Like, evening routines, morning routines, journaling, what a life-proof plan is, habit loops, habit audits. We really just talked about habit loops today and a little bit about habit audits, but it goes into all of that for you. So you can get that. I'm pretty sure it's on sale on my page. If not, message me and I will send you a discount for it for being on the live. What can one do to set up self-cues when in the middle of moving? Space is limited. Ooh, I like it. I just moved, actually. Okay, so this is what I would say. Particularly moving is honestly one of the best times because a lot of your external cues or your self-cues are being disrupted right now, which is kind of crappy, but also kind of great because that gives you a chance that you can change your cues up however you like, right? Sorry, I'm just habit loop. There we go. So if you are trying to set up a self cue, Oh, there it is. Okay. If you're trying to set up a self cue, what I would do is focus on one thing, one small thing, one habit that you really want to focus on with this while your space is limited and while your time is limited and all of that. Because let me tell you, moving, it's like, I think they say it's like one of the three big stressors that you can experience in life. It's like divorce, death, and moving. So it's totally normal to feel stressed out and my life, right? So focus on one thing. I always recommend do a dream day. So write out, like, if I was living my dream life, like if I was this version of myself that I am working on becoming, what would be the habits that I would have during that day? Particularly, like, what are you doing in the morning in that dream day? And then pick one thing that you can really focus on. And this is, I think, is a simple one, but like, are you snoozing until you absolutely have to get up? Right? So setting up the external cue, moving your phone away. I think enough of you guys have heard my story where I used to take my phone and I would shove it in my yoga mat. That was an external cue. I would get up in the morning and I would have to physically pretty much unroll my yoga mat in order to get my cell phone, in order just to hit the snooze button off or like hit the alarm button, right? So that was an external cue. But yes, only focus, especially since you're moving, focus on one. Keep it really simple for yourself too. Example, setting up running. Yep, runners for the next day. Yes, 100%. Yep, 100% with my new roommates. I love that. Yep. Set it all up, sleep in your workout clothes. And then again, we want to make this really like you're going to get a reward from this regardless, because that's how running works. Your brain is going to give it to you, but give yourself something to really look forward to. So like maybe you have a pre-workout drink that you really like to drink. Again, that's going to make it even more rewarding. If there's outfit that's really cute to put on, it's really rewarding as you're kind of getting that run going, right? So you're getting that reward instantly. I'm unmotivated to study for the bar exam. Ooh, my goodness. Well, congratulations. First off, that's a big thing. What I would do is, because that's such a big task too, I would sit down and honestly just free form journal. Ask yourself, what is my fear on this activity? Actually, hold on. Oh, I don't have my papers over here. Message me. Where was my Auntie Innate? Message me because I have a fear setting activity that is going to help out so much with this, because I'm like, especially that you've made it this far, that you're like getting to the point that you're studying for the bar exam. I'm sure part of it is you're tired, part of it is you're burnt out. Like, let's totally acknowledge those things. You had to do a ton of work to get to this point, but I bet you too there's a belief and a fear about what will happen next, like whether that be, okay, I'm going to pass the bar and now I'm going to have to be a lawyer or whatever it is, that's a big step, and people are going to have a lot of expectations around what you're going to be doing now. Or it's that you're afraid of the failure, right? At least that's for me. Oh, hold on. Sorry, y'all. Okay, sorry. My phone is dying, so we'll have to make this great. So the other thing is, it's probably that fear too, right? It's probably either something like combined, probably exhausted, motivated because you're tired, but also it could be something additional, fear of like, okay, when people are going to have a lot of options and I'm not going to handle them, or like, what if I fail and I disappoint people and I disappoint myself, right? Sometimes we get in those procrastinations because of what will happen if we continue forward, right? Hi, it's a good morning for me. I'm excited to listen. Thank you. I second this. Here to give our spicy brains up. Yes, that is what it's all about, babe. Like I said, I help world, but I have been in it enough that I'm like, I know how to eat the fruit and spit out the seeds. And so because life is so big, I will do that for you and just give you guys the cut up bite-sized pieces of fruit. I just redid my room, moving my bed and stuff. It's it's actually did an improvement for my productivity. Yes, 100%. The way you set up your space can really, really help out. Again, if you are feeling like you're really stuck in a certain habit loop that you're trying to change, flip that bitch on its head. Like, take it and flip it around. If you're like, I'm hitting snooze every day before I have to get up, flip it around. Set your alarm for the very last time that you can get up, so it is not like you are late if you hit snooze. I'm so serious, right? We're going to start flipping things around. Instead of trying to be so aspirational on things, we're just going to meet ourselves where we're at. We will get further, right? What did I say at the very beginning? I know there's only a couple of you on from the beginning, but I said, when you are swimming in the current, that is not your current, right? You're fighting that current. You're swimming, you're swimming, you're swimming. You're not going to make any progress. You're going to exhaust yourself and you're going to feel like you're drowning. If you feel like that right now in life, where you're like, I'm doing all these things, I'm making zero progress, and I feel tired all the time, it's probably because you're fighting your current. You're trying to swim, and it's even more frustrating because you're like, I see this is working for other people. Well, that's because that's their current, babe. Get out of their current. You don't need to be swimming in their current. If it works for them, it works for them. That's great for them. But if it doesn't work for you, then let's not exhaust ourselves. You deserve to rest. You deserve to have the tools that you need, and you deserve to find a current that works for you so you can swim with ease and move forward. It's crazy when you start doing these things, and they're for you. It's for your current. How you'll be like, wow, not only am I less tired, but I'm accomplishing more. Like, how did that happen? Right, because I'm swimming with my current. I'm going and doing things the way that works for me and works for my brain. Oh my God, fear stuff is a thing for me too. Going through it right now, big time. Oh yes, y'all are not alone. Y'all are not alone in this. It is so common. We can do, like I said, next week everybody wants to know study, but we can also talk about, in addition to studying, we can talk about fear setting too, because I've been meaning to do this and it just seems like it's the perfect time. So I will schedule next week's live and we will talk a little bit more about fear setting, because it's like one of my favorite things. Fear setting and dream mapping, I talk about them all the time. If there's any two activities that I think have changed my life outside of like habits, this is kind of more of just a lifestyle thing than a worksheet activity. It would be the fear setting and it would be the dream mapping. They have kickstarted my life in such a positive way. All right, y'all. My phone is literally at 5%, so I'm pretty sure it's going to die here any moment now. I am going to cut it. I'm so grateful for y'all. I'm grateful that you guys chose to hang out with me on a Saturday when you could be realistically doing anything else with your time. I appreciate y'all so much. If you want to get the Better Habit workbook, it's on my page, so you can get it. Thank you, neighbor. Loved this session. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Seriously. You can get the ultimate Better Habit workbook. The ultimate workbook for better habits. It's on my page under the Etsy account. You can get the planner on Etsy. If you're going to get both of them, I think it's probably cheapest to get the life transformation kit, but totally up to you. I just have it set up so we can try and save you guys money where we can. And then you also have the physical planner on Amazon. Again, same planner that would be on Etsy too. So it's just a digital copy. It's nice. It is undated. So you actually had somebody tell me it was like a bad business plan selling the digital planner for so cheap as an undated planner, because they're like, people can just print it out whenever. And I'm like, that's literally the point. There's not like a billion people on this planet. So I'm worried about not being able to resell you guys a million things. All right. If y'all have questions, I don't know why that's happening. If y'all have questions, reach out to me, send me a DM, and we can chat it out. And if not, I'll see y'all next week. Thanks again for hanging out, y'all. I love y'all. Bye.